You think you know who you are. You don't. The person you believe yourself to be is a fiction your brain invented yesterday. And in the next 10 minutes, I'll prove that your identity, your personality, your entire sense of self is a story with no author. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the real you doesn't exist the way you think it does. This isn't philosophy. This is backed by neuroscience research from Yale, NYU, and decades of psychological studies. And once you see how your sense of self actually works, every time you say, "That's just who I am," every personality trait you claim, every consistent behavior you're proud of, all of it becomes questionable. But before we dive in, let me tell you about a woman who woke up one day and became a completely different person. In 2013, a British woman had a dental surgery, simple procedure, local anesthesia. She went in with a British accent. She woke up Chinese, not ethnically. Her accent? Foreign accent syndrome. Her brain rewired and suddenly she spoke with a Chinese accent, permanently. But here's what's strange. She said she felt like a different person. Her food preferences changed, her music taste, her mannerisms. She didn't just sound different, she felt different. Most people believe identity is stable. You have a core self, a personality that persists over time, introverted or extroverted, anxious or calm, creative or logical. That's who you are. That's who you've always been. But here's what's really happening. Your sense of self is constructed moment to moment by your brain using whatever information is available. Change the inputs, your body, your environment, your memories, and the self changes instantly. You're not discovering who you are. You're inventing who you are, right now, and pretending you've always been this person. Your personality isn't consistent. You just remember it that way. In 1985, researchers at Carleton University gave college students a personality test. They measured traits like conscientiousness, emotional stability, extroversion. Then, they filed the results away. 14 years later, they found those same people, now in their 30s. They gave them the personality test again. Then they asked, "How do you think you scored 14 years ago?" The results were shocking. Their actual personalities had changed dramatically, but their memory of their past personality matched their current one almost perfectly. They weren't the same person, but they remembered being the same person. Your brain retroactively edits your past self to match your current self. You think you've always been anxious, but 10 years ago you tested low for anxiety. You think you've always loved reading, but your teenage self barely finished a book. Psychology calls this the consistency bias. Your brain needs you to feel stable, so it rewrites your history to match you present. Think about who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Are you remembering the actual person, or are you remembering a version your brain constructed to make sense of who you are now? You have no idea who you actually were. You only know who you remember being, and that memory is fiction. You're not a consistent person with a history. You're a current person with an edited backstory. But it gets stranger. Because it's not just your past that's invented, you become whoever the situation requires, and you don't even notice. Stanford ran the famous prison experiment in 1971. College students. Random assignment. Some became guards. Some became prisoners. Both groups knew it was fake. Within days, the guards became sadistic. The prisoners became submissive, not acting, actually becoming. Their sense of self shifted to fit the role. The experiment was stopped early because people were losing their identities to the situation. This isn't limited to extreme experiments. A University of Texas study tracked people's behavior across different contexts: work, home, with friends, with parents. They found people's personalities changed so drastically that they were statistically different people in different environments. You're confident at work, anxious at home. Patient with friends, irritable with family. You think one is the real you and the others are masks. But brain scans show all of them activate the same self-referential networks. They're all you, or none of them are you. There's no stable core underneath. Think about the last time you acted out of character. Maybe you snapped at someone. Maybe you were surprisingly brave. You said, "That wasn't like me," but it was you. In that situation, with those inputs, that version is just as real as the version you prefer. You don't have a personality that enters situations. You have situations that generate personalities. You're not a fixed self wearing different masks. You're a different self in every context, convinced there's consistency. And here's the most disturbing part. The voice in your head narrating your life isn't you. It's a PR agent. Michael Gazzaniga studied split-brain patients whose brain hemispheres couldn't communicate. He'd show one image to the right brain only. The right brain would control the hand to respond, picking up an object, pointing at something. Then he'd ask the left brain, the speaking side, "Why did you do that?" The left brain had no idea. It didn't see the image, but it never said, "I don't know." Instead, it instantly invented a reason. "Oh, I needed that. I was going to use it." Completely fabricated, but delivered with total confidence. This is happening in your brain constantly. You act based on unconscious processes, emotions, habits, priming, and then your conscious mind invents a story about why you did it. "I'm the kind of person who, I did that because I value." That's not who I am. All stories. All after the fact. Your sense of self isn't discovering who you are. It's narrating behaviors your brain already executed and claiming they were intentional. Think about the last major decision you made. Career, relationship, moving cities. You explained your reasons. You described your values. You told a coherent story about why someone like you would make that choice. But brain science shows the decision happened first. The story came after. You're not the author of your life. You're the biographer, writing in real time and calling it autobiography. So who are you, really? Here's the truth about yourself. You're not a fixed entity with essential traits. You're a dynamic process, a constantly updating story your brain tells using current information, edited memories, and situational demands. What does this mean for you? Stop saying, "That's just who I am," to justify behaviors you can change. Stop clinging to identity labels that limit you. Stop believing you need to find yourself, because there's no fixed self to find. This isn't depressing. It's liberating. You're not trapped by personality. You're not limited by past versions of yourself. Every moment is an opportunity to generate a different self. You're not discovering who you are. You're deciding who you are right now. And you could decide differently tomorrow. The person you think you've always been is just the person you've been practicing. Practice someone else. You have that power. You always did. So in 10 minutes, I destroyed your assumptions about yourself and hopefully freed you to become someone new. If this changed how you see your own identity, hit that like button. And if you want to see your understanding of relationships destroyed next, that video drops next week. I'm going to prove that love isn't what you think it is, and once you see the truth, every relationship looks different. Subscribe so you don't miss it. See you there.